Well, hello, boys and girls, ladies and gents, members of the Big Red Food Army. It's your boy, Big Red. Welcome to another Rant and Rambling. In this one, I honestly don't care if anybody watches, but if you do, thanks. I just need to get this off of my chest. Today is August 29th, 2017. And as usual, my life is nothing more than a screwed up rerun. 12 years ago, I went through the same exact, well, almost the same exact stuff I'm going through right now. Except for I lived in New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina happened. Now I'm going through Hurricane Harvey, or Tropical Storm Harvey. But let's take it back 12 years. I was on vacation in Houston with my now ex-wife, my son, who was barely 3 at the time. And we were here visiting her folks, and we had friends of mine watching the house and the cats. And it was a Saturday night. It was August the 27th. No, take that back. It was August the 26th. They called us and said, "Hey, what do you want us to do with the cats?" I said, "What do you think I want you to do with them? Go feed the suckers." They're like, "No, we're evacuating." I was like, "What do you mean you evacuating?" They said, "You don't know about the storm that's about to hit?" I was like, "What storm?" They're like, "You're not watching the news?" I said, "I don't live in Houston yet." We were actually here visiting her folks, and we were going to move here in March of 2006, March or April. And they're like, "Hurricane Katrina's about to hit New Orleans." I was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Hurricane Katrina, that's nothing more than a tropical storm about to hit Florida, or just hit Florida." They're like, "Yeah, it hit Florida, went straight across the peninsula, and is in the Gulf. You're not watching the news?" I said, "I don't live in Houston yet. Why do I want to watch Houston news?" And they said, "Well, where are you at?" I said, "Me and my wife and son, we're out at dinner right now." They said, "When you get back to your in-laws' house, you might want to turn on the news." And I did. And I lived in New Orleans my entire life until Hurricane Katrina 2005. Well, like I said, we were here the week before on a 2-week vacation looking for a house and visiting her folks. And actually we was going to build a house. We were looking for property. And I had never evacuated for a hurricane before in my life. But when I saw that thing in the Gulf, I would have evacuated for that. But we were already here in Houston. There was nothing I could do. So I called my friends. I said, "Well, when are y'all leaving?" They said, "We're leaving Sunday," which was going to be the 27th. And I said, "Well, take the 2 cats with you, and I'll just catch up with you guys whenever I can." And they said, "We're taking our 4 cats and as much stuff as we can carry. We don't have room, sorry." So I said, "Okay, give me a minute. Let me call you right back." So I called my grandparents, who lived right next door to me. Their house was here. We had an empty lot here that the family owned, and then my house was here. And I called my grandparents. I said, "Are y'all staying or y'all leaving?" They said, "We're staying." I said, "Okay, well, would you mind watching the cats?" And they said, "We thought you had a friend watching them." I was like, "Yeah." I said, "They evacuating." So they said, "Well, we're staying, so we're going to watch them." I was like, "Okay." So I told this to the ex-wife. The ex-wife, so then I called my friends back, and I said, "Yeah, my grandparents will watch the cats. Don't worry about it." And they said, "Okay, well, we'll bring the key. We're not leaving until tomorrow morning. We'll bring them the key." I said, "That's fine. You don't really have to. My grandparents already have a key to the house. Just go ahead and take off. That's fine. Catch up with you guys later when we all get back." I'm like, "Okay." So me and the ex-wife, we were discussing, what about the cats or whatever. We're thinking we'll be back in about 3 or 4 days anyway. Grandparents was going to feed them. Ex-wife said, who's going back for the cats, me or you? I said, you'll get lost in your own backyard. You're directionally impaired. I guess I'm going. Let me get a good night's sleep. I'll go in the morning. So I slept somewhat during the night. Woke up. Somewhere around 6 in the morning, 5:36. Used the restroom. Got dressed. Was out the door. I made a 6-hour trip. 5.5, 6-hour trip in 3 hours and 5 minutes. I was doing about 120 down I-10. Got to Beaumont before, when you leave Houston, the next big city's Beaumont. I called my grandparents. I said, hey, y'all staying or leaving? They said, we staying. I said, okay, I'm coming back for the cats. They said, no, stay where you're at. I said, no, I'm coming to get the cats. They're like, well, where are you? I said, I'm in Beaumont. Then I got to the next biggest town, which was Lake Charles, Louisiana. I called my grandmother again. I said, hey, I need y'all to pack 7 days worth of clothes, grab your meds. I'm coming in, swooping up the cats, swooping y'all up, and we going. They're like, no, we staying. Where you at now? I said, Lake Charles. It's like, you're just in Beaumont. I said, yeah, it's only 50 miles away. She goes, yeah, but that was only like 5-10 minutes ago. I said, don't worry about it. I'm driving a little fast. Get to Lafayette, which is the next biggest town along that route. And I was the only one on the freeway going toward New Orleans. There was a long line of traffic coming back out of Louisiana. I mean, bumper to bumper, barely moving traffic. I get to Lafayette, and I call my grandmother again and said, hey, get some clothes together, get your meds. I'm going to get you and Grandpa out. Cats, we out. No, we staying. Where you at now? I told him. She says, you better slow down. I said, no, I'm coming in, and I'm coming in hot, and I'm grabbing what I got to get, and we getting out of there. So I get to Baton Rouge, which is the next big town. By the time I got to Baton Rouge and called my grandmother, she says, okay, it's scary. I want out. I said, okay, just be ready because I'm coming in, grabbing the cats, and going. So I finally get to New Orleans, go through the city, get to the little suburb where I lived. The sheriff's department has it blocked off. Sandbag, I mean, literally blocked off. Looked like they're ready for war. They're like, what are you doing here? I said, look, I live here. Showed them my ID. I said I was on vacation. I got back as fast as I could. My grandparents, I didn't tell them that I was coming back for my animals because they probably wouldn't have cared. I said, my grandparents live right next door to me. I'm coming to get them, and we're leaving. So they let me through. Let me through the checkpoint. Got to my house. It was still sunny at the time. I mean, you could see clouds moving in, but it was still sunny. Got there, it was right at 10 in the morning. And I walked next door to my grandparents' house. I said, get your stuff together. I'm going to grab the cats. So my cat, all you had to do was grab the carrier, open it up. She liked to go for car rides. She just went right in. And usually when a storm comes, animals are pretty on point and freaked out. So she walked right in, shut the cage. My ex-wife's cat, on the other hand, he was a handful. He used to be feral. We tamed him as much as we possibly could. But he didn't like to be held. He didn't really like to be petted that much. You know, we were just food givers to him. And, you know, but he was good with my son, so I was like, okay, let me get him. So I chased him. He hid under one bed. Chased him. He ran into the other room. So finally, I just started shutting doors after he'd leave rooms, and then he went and hid here, hid there. Then he got behind a piece of furniture where I couldn't reach him. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna let him calm down. I grabbed what I could. I grabbed all my photographs because I used to do photography. Grabbed all my photographs, all my negatives, camera equipment. I grabbed our our family photo albums, my son's baby book, as many yearbooks as I could find, loaded all them into the car. Still couldn't catch this stupid cat. So I started grabbing boxes of stuff that the ex-wife had packed already, because like I said, we were going to move to Houston March or April of '06. So she used to collect Disney stuff, and she'd collect anything from the little cheap plastic toys they give away at McDonald's all the way up to $300, $400, $500 statues and everything in between. If there was a dog turd with the name Disney on it, she probably had it or wanted it. So this was stuff that she didn't use on an everyday basis, so she started packing stuff up. So I said, you know, I'm just going to pack the trunk as much as I could. So I packed the trunk as tight as I could, shut it down, and I was in a 2004 Chevy Monte Carlo SS. So the trunk was decent size, not overly huge, but I mean, I packed this sucker with photographs, camera equipment, and boxes of Disney stuff. And keep that in mind, I packed Disney stuff because that's all it said on the box. Walk over next door, tell my grandparents, I said, okay, I got one cat, I'm still trying to catch the other one, get your stuff together. My grandpa's like, I'm not going. I said, no, you're going to go in there and you're going to pack some clothes and you're going to go. So I walked back to my house. It just started raining, like a little drizzle at the time. Like I said, this was 10 o'clock in the morning. Katrina didn't, the eye didn't actually hit till somewhere around midnight-ish. And anyway, so I went and finally caught the cat, put the cat in there, backed up out of my driveway, drove over to my grandparents' driveway so they wouldn't have to walk. So keep in mind, the front seat of a Monte Carlo had 2 seats. So I was going to put my grandma in one seat, me driving, my grandpa in the back seat, and I had the 2 cat carriers stacked side to side up there with the seatbelt across them so they wouldn't go tumbling around. And I had a space for my grandpa. The middle space was for my grandma's bag and my grandpa's bag. And I told him, I said, I got a pocket full of cash, a full tank of gas. I'll bring y'all anywhere you want to go. That was my thought. That was my plan. My grandpa looked at me and he said, y'all just going to be back in 3 days. So why do I need to evacuate? I'm not evacuating. This is my house. If anything's happened, I'm going to be here to protect it. Now keep in mind, my grandfather had diabetes. He was about 85 to 90% blind. He could see lights and silhouettes. He couldn't make out features or nothing. He had other medical issues. And he said, I'm not leaving. I said, I'm not playing with you, old man. Get in the goddamn car. He said, I ain't dressed. I'm in my pajamas. I was like, go get dressed. Get you a bag of clothes and go. He goes, I got 12 packs of beer. I'm not going nowhere. I got cold cuts in the refrigerator. I got some bread. I can make sandwiches. I'm good. So I said, old man, get in the goddamn car. He wouldn't do it. I did everything but knock his old ass out and drag him out and put him in the car. He just did not want to go. So my grandma was like, we got to go. It's time to go. She kissed him. I hugged him, kissed him. I said, if you change your mind, call me. I'll turn around and come and get you. Now, mind you, I just told you it took me 3 hours, roughly 3 hours and 10 minutes to drive what normally took 5.5, 6 hours. The little section that I lived in wasn't bad to get out of, but once I got to the interstate, it was bumper to bumper traffic. It wasn't moving. It took me, I asked my grandma, where do you want to go? She said, I want to go to my friend's house who lives right outside of Baton Rouge. So I was like, okay, is that all you want to do? I said, I'll take you to Alaska if you want to go to Alaska. She's like, no, just Baton Rouge is fine. So I started driving. It took me 5 hours to get to Baton Rouge. 5.5 hours, which is normally an hour ride. Hour and 10 minutes. Took me 5.5 hours. And that was ducking and weaving through back streets to bypass some of the interstate. Finally get there. I get her settled in. Wash my hands, use the restroom, jump back in the car, about to leave. I call my grandpa, because by this time it started raining bad, and I'm in Baton Rouge. And keep in mind, Baton Rouge is about 86 to 90 miles away from where I lived, and it was raining bad there, so I knew it was bad back home. So I called my grandpa. I said, "Hey, how you making out?" He says, "Oh, it's fine. It's not even raining." I said, "Don't lie to me." I said, "It's bad here in Baton Rouge. It's rainy. It's windy." I said, "I'm turning around. I'm coming to get you." He goes, "Where's your grandma?" I said, "She's, where she wanted to go. She's by her friend's house in Baton Rouge. You know the number. That's where she's at. Is she safe?" "Yep." He said, "Well, you go back to Texas and you be with your family." I said, "Oh man, I'm turning around and I'm coming to get you." Said, "No." So before let me take that back a couple hours. I was about 10 miles outside of New Orleans when I called my friend who's a police officer there, and I said, "Hey, old man didn't want to leave." He goes, "What? I thought that's why you were coming back, to get to catch your grandma." And I said, "He didn't want to leave." He said, "I'll go get him." So my best friend, and who is also my son's godfather, who is an undercover, at the time he was an undercover narc. He used to be part of the SWAT team and whatnot. They had him in his SWAT uniform. Said, they're giving us about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to go button up our stuff, and I'll go get him. And he lived one street away, or actually it was about a mile away, but there was commercial property in between the two streets. So anyway, he went over there to go get him. He said, "Come on, man, get in the car, let's go." He's like, "Are you putting me under arrest?" He goes, "No." He goes, "This ain't even my jurisdiction, but get in the damn car and let's go." He said, "That long hair MF told you to come and get me. This is my house. I told him I ain't leaving. You better arrest me if you want me to leave. I ain't going nowhere." So my friend said, "What do you do? Your grandpa liked his beer. He was drinking a beer. I cracked one open with him." So my friend was the last person to see him alive. I was the last one to talk to him alive, because after I left Baton Rouge, I started heading back west toward Texas, and then just something told me, turn around and go get him. Turn around and go get him. So I got over the Atchafalaya Basin, which is, I want to say it's about 17 to 20 miles of just bridge over water, over the swamp. And there's no exit for it. Once you get on, you're on it. So, and like I said, by that time it was raining. It was raining sideways. It was bumper to bumper traffic, barely moving. I get to the end of the bridge. Right before I get to the end of the bridge, I start calling him. I said, "Hey, look, I'm turning around. I'm coming to get you." He's like, "Where you at?" I said, "I just got off the Atchafalaya Basin." I said, "I'm turning around and I'm coming to get you." He goes, "No, just go be with your family." He goes, "I'm all right." I said, "Don't tell me it's all right and it's sunny, because I know it's not. It's freaking raining sideways here." He goes, "Oh, but you so far away, you don't know what it's doing back here." I was like, "No, I know it's probably worse." So he's like, "No, I'm okay, really." So I was like, "Okay." So I kept on going. It took me, like I said, 3 hours, 5 minutes, 3 hours and 10 minutes to drive that distance. On the way back, it took me 24.5 hours to get back. That's not counting the half hour I stopped in Baton Rouge. I just stuck on the road trying to move. Finally get back to Houston, go to sleep, wake up the next morning to the Houston Chronicle, and the front page of the Houston Chronicle showed just this big, massive amount of water with 2 gas station awnings showing, peeking out the water. And that was roughly 1 3/4, 2 miles away from my house. 2 big main highways. So when I saw that, I was like, everything we own is gone. I said, I hope my grandpa got out, got rescued, and he's out of shelter. We started calling all the hospitals that would, I mean, the phones were jammed, you know, so we tried calling hospital shelters, couldn't find no information. All the phones were just assed out, nothing. You know, once things started settling down, I mean, the water didn't go down for 2 weeks. We couldn't, and then Hurricane Rita came, which pushed the water back in there. Even though Hurricane Rita didn't hit New Orleans, it skirted New Orleans and dropped more water there, so that delayed us. It was probably 3 weeks before we got back to even assess the damage, or they would even let anybody in. But before that, on September the 11th, 2005, I get a phone call that they found my grandfather drowned in his house. There's not a day that goes by that the whole what if game doesn't play in my head. I wish I would have just punched him in his mouth, knocked him out, and put him in a car. He'd still be here today. But I didn't. So when we got confirmation that they found his body, my friend that I spoke of earlier, who was the last one to see him alive, they were going house to house, you know, searching. And he said if, you know, he told other people, by this time the feds were involved, he said, you know, if y'all get a body of a male roughly this size, let me know. It's a friend of the family. I'll come remove the body. He gets this call. He says, I'm about 30 minutes away, 40 minutes away. Let me wrap up what I'm doing, then I'll be there. So I'll be there roughly in about an hour and a half. Because he was on another side of town doing search and rescue and going house to house searching. By the time he gets there, the locals couldn't keep the feds from just taking the body. They're like, we can't wait no more. You know, so they took the body and put him with the unknowns. So then I get this great joy of having to deal with the federal goddamn government to identify my grandfather's body so we could have him cremated. Meanwhile, all of this is going on. My grandmother, she strokes out. and is left as a vegetable when she finds out that when we finally get confirmation that he has been deceased and he died. She strokes out, ends up in the hospital, becomes a vegetable, never does come out the stroke. So I got to deal with the pieces. Deal with the insurance company. Deal with, my job. Try to put my life back together. My wife's life back together, the kid. And then have to deal with the U.S. government to find my grandfather so they could identify him. And every time I'd call every other day. Did you find my grandpa? Because they put him with the unknowns. They have one central location. They were just dumping all the unknowns. And they're like, well, does he have any identifying marks? Any tattoos? I was like, no. It's like he's got partial false teeth. Pull out dental records. And they're like, well, all the dental places went underwater. I was like, okay, but he was in the Army. I'm sure the Army's got some kind of record of this. I mean, granted, he was in the Army in the late 50s, early 50s, no, it was the early 50s. Had to be the early 50s. So anyway, they finally do that. They don't say, hey, we found your grandpa until like a week before Christmas. Now, mind you, Katrina happened in August. That's September, October, November, December. 4 months later, they identify him. Not without a few phone calls from me. And the last one I had with the person I was talking to, I said, does this voice sound like I'm playing with you? I said, I am done. I said, the next time you hear my voice won't be over the phone. It'll be in person. And it won't be connected to a phone. It'll be connected to my body where my hands are connected around your throat. You better find my grandfather. Then 2 days later, they found my grandfather. So I set up the cremation. They call me Christmas Eve. No, it was the day before Christmas Eve. It was December 23rd. They called me and said, hey, we've got your grandfather's cremains, which is a fancy hipster name of ashes, I guess. They're ready for pickup. I was like, I am not driving to New Orleans on Christmas Eve, because they called me late on the 23rd. I said, I'm not driving all the way to New Orleans on 23rd. I'm sorry, the 24th, Christmas Eve, to come pick up my grandfather's ashes. I said, he's been dead since August. He's not going nowhere. I'll come and get him after the first of the year. Well, we could mail him to you. I was like, I don't trust my grandfather's remains going through the postal service. Y'all lose letters. Y'all not going to... And the federal government done lost him once. I'm not dealing with that. I'll come and get him after the first of the year. So I tried to get through the holidays. And then I go down there. I go to the funeral home, pick up my grandfather's ashes. And... my grandfather used to love his beer. He used to like going to these little mom and pop bar rooms, and there was about 10 of them that he would frequent. Sometimes he'd make the round of 5 in a day or whatever, once he was retired. Have 2 or 3 beers here, 2 or 3 beers there, 2 or 3 beers there, and make his way home. So we took his urn, and we went to every one of those bar rooms. Me and my friend. Ordered 3 beers. They're like, well, why you got 3 beers? Only 2 of y'all. I was like, one for the fallen soldier. And we'd pour that one out. And they're like, so who's in the urn? And I tell them who it was. And they're like, oh no, he passed away. I was like, yeah, he drowned in a storm. And at 10 bars, we drank free all night. because that's how many people like my grandpa. And then I get the joy after all of that, then I get the joy of having to go back and gut my house. Because my house was roughly between 14 and 20 feet underwater. Completely underwater. When I got home, I had an A-frame on my house. Which, if you don't know what an A-frame is, it's a metal frame that's shaped like a letter A. There's one on each side. Imagine a swing set without a swing. It's a chain they use to pull engines out of cars. It's a mechanic tool. It's an A-frame. And the nearest mechanic shop was 4 miles away. But this looked like a backyard one, so somebody could have had an A-frame in their backyard that floated. It ended up on my roof. The ex-wife's car was twisted in the driveway. We finally got we had to kick in the back door to get in because all the wood on the wooden doors was swollen, so we had to kick in the door. We figured if we're going to kick in the door, let's kick in the back door. By the time we got back there, it was already kicked in because they went through the house, you know, looking for survivors or deceased. So we knew somebody was in there, but we'd figured they would at least have locked the thing. The door was already kicked in, the back door. We went in, looked around. It was a disaster area. Nothing salvageable. We was going to throw everything away. We wind up finding the jewelry box with the jewelry, so we took that. At the time, I probably had about $10,000 in change because I used to carry my change in my pocket. I get home, I just drop it in a 5-gallon jug. Had 2 5-gallon jugs full. Had the sledgehammer because the room it was in, and I couldn't get to it because a piece of furniture had fallen and blocked the door, couldn't get the door open. So I had to kick through the wall. We sledgehammered through the wall because I wasn't leaving that sucker behind. The walls had to come down anyway, the sheetrock. So we just busted through the sheetrock and carried that out. What else were we able to save? We saved a handful of DVDs because the ex-brother-in-law, he used to own a CD music shop where you could buy music. And he's like, you might have lost all the artwork, but you could save those CDs. All you got to do is wash them off in, like, rubbing alcohol and peroxide to get the germs off, and then rinse them in cold water, clear water, and then they should dry. Put them in, like, a CD binder or whatever, and they're good to go. And at the time, I had about 2,000 CDs, maybe about 200, 300 DVDs. We saved a fraction of all of that. Because, I mean, we took them all, but by the time I started cleaning them, whatever was in that water just ate through the plastic of the DVD covering and ate through the data, so they were useless. Computer and all, but that was all we were able to save. Jewelry, a handful of, you know, a fraction of the CD and DVD collection, and $10,000 in change, which we lived off of after the storm, used it to buy new shit. But now I'm going through it again. Here we are, exactly a year later. It's August 28th, 2017, 12 years later. Hurricane Harvey, great. My life is nothing more than a rerun. Although, I gotta say, I am not flooded out. There are a bunch of people here in Houston that are, and my heart goes out to them. And I just feel helpless that I can't help them. A, because I have no transportation to get down there to help at the George R. Brown Center as a volunteer. No way of, you know, setting up donation drop-offs like I did for the people of Southeast Louisiana 2 years ago when they got flooded. I coordinated drop-offs, collected blankets and toiletries and stuff like that, and I brought it down to Southeast Louisiana. I can't do none of that. I have no transportation to go get any of these things or set any of these things up. And then I don't even know. I've been out of my apartment once since all of this started. I just walked to the mailbox cluster and then looked around the apartment complex, and everything appears to be high and dry. A few tree branches down, but you know, that's about it. But 2 blocks away, I hear, is completely underwater. So even if I could drive somewhere, I don't know if I could make it. But I really need to get my wheels back and running, because I have no transportation to go pick up my son this weekend. This upcoming weekend is my weekend with my son, and I have no way of picking him up. Living on Social Security disability does not allow me to save money. Not that they won't let you save money, it's just with bills and daily necessities such as food and, you know, stuff that you need, clothing, and paying bills, light bill, water bill, cell phone bill, internet bill, rent, insurance for the car, insurance, life insurance for me, life insurance for my son. I'm lucky if I have $150 to $300 left every month, and that's to buy food. So you really don't have extra money to save, and my engine's blown. I either need a new car or I need a new engine. The new engine's going to be between $8,000 and $10,000. I have about this much of it, zero. I don't know what I'm going to do. This weekend, my son knows what's wrong because I have already talked to him about it. So he knows what's up. But I know when and if I tell my ex-wife that, hey, I can't come and pick him up because I'm trying to borrow a car from a friend. But who knows whose car's underwater, whose car's not underwater. I don't know. She's the kind of vindictive, mean person that would she'll be like, oh yeah, don't come and get him, that's fine. And if I do that for too many weekends, she's the kind of person that has the lawyer on speed dial, will petition the court saying that I'm a no good scumbag, can't go get my kid, won't go see him, this, that, and the other, and have my parental visitation rights revoked, and I wouldn't see my kid. He's 15 now. I wouldn't see him for 3 years. Because that's the kind of person she is. So I need to really get my car fixed somehow by the grace of God. Somebody loaning me a car for a while or whatever. But I need to be able to go get my boy. And be able to get him back to school and this, that, and the other. So I really don't know what the heck I'm going to do. Anyway, I'm sorry for dumping on y'all. Just had to get all that off my chest. So the story of my life is nothing more than a rerun. A year exactly to the day. Great. Thanks, Mother Nature. I appreciate it. Took my whole life, flipped it upside down, took every worldly possession, destroyed it, and most of all, killed my grandfather. So if you have a loved one that you're at odds with, or you haven't seen in a while, had an argument with, whatever, bury that crap. Bury it. If they don't reach out to you, you reach out to them, and at least you know you did your part, you know? Because a man's only got 2 things in this world. His word and his family. So, with that being said, I'm going to end it there. If you want to, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. You'll know when I have new content. Hit that like button. Thumbs up, thumbs down, it don't matter. Hit me with one. But either way, you can't hit me as hard as Mother Nature. We like these better. And down below is the comment section. Leave me a comment if you like. Right above that, but right below this video, you have the description box with a description of this video with links to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And there's also a link to this channel's homepage where you can find all my older content separated by category and or series. Make life easier for you, unlike Mother Nature. There's also a link to my friend's t-shirt website where you could purchase your Big Red Show t-shirts. I know that my shirts aren't up. The site is up, the new site is up, but he hasn't reloaded everything yet. When you got 500 designs of your own and then my 40 or 50 designs, it's kind of hard to load them all at one time, especially with the crap that's going on right now with this Hurricane Harvey. So just keep checking back periodically. At least you'll have the shop's info. You can email a request for your shirt and they'll take payment over the phone, or you could call. I don't know when he's going to open his shop back up. Probably sometimes later this week once the hurricane's finished and the water subsides. So yeah, there's that. There's also a link. I don't mention it very often, but I think this video might be fitting. I have a PayPal account. Somebody suggested that I make a GoFundMe page, and I've tried that in the past when I was trying to raise money for the people of Southeast Louisiana. That netted $0. But if you want to help Big Red out with his car problems so I could be able to see my kid again, better yet, if you don't care if I see my kid out, that's up to you, but you're not getting many more fast food videos because if I ain't got a car, I can't go do videos for you guys. I've got a few videos in reserve, but not many. They'll run out and run out quick. Then you'll just get more rambling videos. And y'all know y'all here to see the big man eat. So I've got close to 940, 950 subs. With all the entertainment I've provided with you guys over the past 8 months, if each one of y'all just felt slightly charitable and donated $5 to the cause, maybe I'll be able to afford my car getting fixed. Hell, you spend that on hamburger at McDonald's. Help a brother out, please. And I don't care if you think I'm begging or what. I'm just putting it out there. You don't have to, but if you can, anything will help. I just want to thank each and every one of you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for watching. And like I said before, if you got family that you had odds with, bury that crap. Life's too short. This is Big Red for another Big Red Rants and Ramblings. And I'll see you guys next time when I have something on this mind. I'm out.